Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Memorial Day procession. We're here in Oshkosh, right near the Oshkosh Public Museum, and we're ready to view the Oshkosh Memorial Day procession today. So Memorial Day is a time when our citizens and veterans gather together to honor the men and women who gave their lives defending our freedom. Men and women we honor today are real people who put themselves in harm's way for us and our future. Today we treat as a solemn day of remembrance that we set aside for contemplation. And today we take time to mourn the loss of these men and women, as well as those who have passed on after their military service. I'm your host, Emily Springstrode, along with my co-host, George Gillis, who's going to be along with us today for the procession. So, George, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good, and I'd like to thank everybody for being out here today.
Yes.
I'm deeply honored to be with you and commemorating the sacrifices of those military men and women who have laid their lives down for service to this nation.
Definitely, yes. And it looks like we've got the color guard coming through already.
That's the Marine Corps color guard.
Excellent.
Winnebago Detachment 357. Semper Fi. A Marine knows a Marine.
Yes. I think we'll be hearing a lot of that today, huh, George? And here we've got the Winnebago Unit Marine Corps League Auxiliary. And we have a great turnout today, too. A lot of community members have come out to view the procession, and it's just really great to see the support here in Oshkosh.
And I hope all veterans will either remove their covers or salute when the flag goes by.
Yes.
Oshkosh Police and Winnebago County Sheriff's Honor Guard.
And the Oshkosh Police is led by Chief Dean Smith, too.
VFW Marching Guard.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Then elder members of the
VFW.
Post 1908 VFW. And I believe the next one is the auxiliary for the VFW.
That's right. Very important support for the VFW, for sure.
Yes.
And I can already hear the band coming up here.
All auxiliaries are good for every organization.
Definitely.
And next is the VFW Band.
Yes, the VFW Band was formed in 1947 and we performed for parades, concerts, ceremonies, supporting our veterans. And who are they conducted by?
CW3 Ronald Olson. I was trying to remember the name of it. Also, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge any who have lost a loved one in the line of duty to this country. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. No words of condolence can even begin to adequately console a survivor's grief. And while grief from loss may change throughout the year, it never leaves us.
It's so true. It's very well said. And on Memorial Day is the day that we really, I mean, any day you're remembering and contemplating, but today is the day of the one day of the year that is what it's all about.
Correct. The ones we honor who gave up their lives in service to our country.
That's right. And we've got the Oshkosh Patriotic Council
Hi,
guest
BJ.
speaker.
Hi, Ralph, Semper Fi, Master of Ceremonies, and the guest speaker for
And that is BJ Elliott
Oshkosh
Pryor.
Mayor.
And so tell us a little bit about our guest speaker.
Guest speaker is a retired flight attendant with 40 years of service with Continental Airlines, and
And she's got a really interesting story, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you'll hear it out at the cemetery. She'll be the guest speaker out there,
Great.
and she'll pretty much go over what her story is.
And now we've got the Oshkosh Lords Band, so let's take a listen.
This is the Lourdes. All the bands today are going to be playing patriotic type music honoring veterans.
Yes, and the Lourdes Band, middle high school band, is led by Michelle Sorensen. They're proud to be marching in today's procession to honor those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. And who have we got up here next, George?
Next up is the County E 2nd Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry Regiment. It's comes dating back to the Battle of Bull Run, Second Bull Run, Antietam, Gettysburg, the Wilderness, and mustering out of service after 3 years of nearly 120 years of served, 23 died in action.
Wow.
On every last Monday in May, we find ourselves reflecting on these men and women who so bravely risked their life and limb in face of great danger. We remember those who left the comforts of home to fight for us and our freedom, but never returned. One day, to trade the title of soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardman, Marine for veteran.
Excellent. And here
There's a vehicle that I used to drive when I was in Vietnam.
Really? Wow.
Yes, that's what they call the mule.
Uh-huh. A mechanical mule.
And it did they hauled a lot of ammo on it.
Wow. And what do we
This
got here?
is
A
the
gallon.
55,000 gallon fuel tanker used by the Army from 68 to 73.
Wow.
Next
is that
vehicle
a big
up is
truck?
Brutus. The only war that this vehicle was ever in was Vietnam, and it was designed in Vietnam by veterans.
Wow.
So
And those
it's
all
one of the
came-
highest decorated
Oh, really?
gun trucks during Vietnam.
And these all came from the Military Veterans Museum here in
Yes.
Oshkosh. And so we really encourage people to come out and check that museum out. A lot of really great things and stories to hear from the museum. Now it looks like
Next
we've
up
got...
is the Oshkosh West Marching Band,
That's right. Let's take a listen.
led by Mr. Dan Singer and Mr. Brian Wilson. The band has a tradition of excellence dating back to the founding of the band at Oshkosh High School in 1919. The West Band have performed at Disneyland in California in the spring of 2017. The spring of 2019, the West Band performed at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
Very nice. Always fun to listen to the bands, especially when they're playing these great military songs. So Mr. Dan Singer and Mr. Brian Wilson do a great job with that band.
Next up is the Ray H. Fuller DAV Chapter 17, Winnebago County, with
They are led by
Paul Baker's commander, and they meet every Tuesday on the fourth month at 6:30 p.m. at the Oshkosh Elks Lodge.
membership is open to any man or woman who was wounded, gassed, injured, or disabled in the line of duty during the time of war, and they were created in 1926. Over 1 million members nationwide.
Coming up on a 100-year anniversary.
Yes, and their auxiliary
Next is
commander
the
is Julie
AMVETs.
Hurt.
Commander Jeff Bedwell. Or Bedward. I'm sorry. They meet every second Tuesday of the month at the Marine Corps League building. To be eligible, must have served in the United Armed Forces, including Guard and Reserves, to enhance the safety.
All right,
Use
coming.
of entitlements
Yes.
for American veterans.
And coming up here, we've got the Webster Stanley Marching Band, Home of the Wolves. Let's take a listen to the songs that they've got to play today.
Band is made up of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
And now we've got Cook Fuller Post 70 American Legion here, led by Francis Matthew. And this is the start of the Post's 100th year anniversary. The marching unit is comprised of Vietnam-era veterans. The auxiliary is comprised of mothers, wife, daughters of the wartime vets. And they also have a SAL Squadron and Legion Riders motorcycle group. And here we've got some Boy Scouts coming through. And who have we got here? Oshkosh Elks Lodge, 292.
And right behind them is the South Park Middle School.
Led by Patty Bourgeois. Today they are marching 75 students strong.
The South Park Band would like those men and women that have served and who are currently serving in our armed forces and for keeping us safe both at home and abroad.
That's right. Thank you to South Park Middle School Band. And up next, we've got some Girl Scouts coming up here. Always great to see the Scouts involved in our processions. Yes, and it's so important to educate our young, the kids in Oshkosh about how important Memorial Day is. And so it's really great to see the scouts and the kids out here supporting.
And they are led by volunteers throughout the community. Knights of Columbus.
All right, so next up we've got the Knights of Columbus, led by Commander William Zwicky. They consist of a group of Catholic gentlemen supported by their families to raise money for many charitable causes.
This group of men from Berlin, Amro, Winneconne, Red Granite, and Oshkosh. The colors signify different levels: green for district marshal, purple for area commander, white for past national, and red for regular honor guard members. We thank the people for the support they give us.
Yes, definitely. And now we've got the Oshkosh North Band, led by Jim Dorschner, and they are a combination of the 3 bands at North High School, and 3 parades and a halftime show every year. Let's take a listen to this awesome drum line.
Next up is the Lao Hmong. The Hmong were recruited by the United States and were a key ally in fighting against communist forces. The Hmong understood the terrain and tactics of jungle fighting.
Yes, and then we've got a second round of military vehicles, also from the Military Veterans Museum and Education Center here in Oshkosh. First one we saw was an M37 3/4-ton 4x4 truck manufactured by Dodge and rushed into service in 1950 for the Korean War.
The next one is a armored personnel carrier half-track, manufactured 1941 to 43.
That's right, used in World War II, it looks like. And then the last vehicle is the very recognizable M35 2.5-ton cargo truck. And this model is one of the longest vehicle runs in the military's inventory, being used from 1950 to 1999 and in conflicts from Korea to Afghanistan.
It is also known as a deuce and a half due to the 2.5-ton carry capacity, and this one was built by the Kaiser Jeep Corporation.
Definitely. So while we have a little break here, George, why don't you give us a little more history on Memorial Day and why it's so important?
The men and women who gave their lives in service to this nation are just indisputably heroes. When their country called, they answered. Some volunteered and some were voluntold. But no matter how they found their way into the ranks of the military, each took it upon himself or herself to serve faithfully and to the fullest. This is commendable in a nation where so few among our citizens have donned the uniform and accepted the inherent risks. And this alone makes them heroes worthy of remembrance. For some veterans, we are unable to pay our respects at the final resting place. There are still more than 82,000 military personnel missing in action from every conflict since World War II. We will never forget them, and we will never stop looking to bring them home.
82,000, what a number, wow.
Yes, and that's just from World War II.
That's right, yes. Well, thank you for that, George. And now coming up here, we've got Perry Tippler Middle School Band, led by Mr. Kevin Rhodes. They are proud to honor all the brave men and women who have served our country. And today, they present a performance of the Marine Hymn for all those who served.
Next up is the Masonic Lodge.
And the Oshkosh Masonic organizations, led by, it looks like maybe Chet Dahl, they are Lodge number 27, organized in Oshkosh in 1843. They have a rich history, and many leaders in the community were Masons, and they all have a common goal to make a good man better. Coming up next, it looks like we've got Carl Traeger's school band, Wearing Blue. And they are led
While
by...
they pay tribute to all branches of our military, this year Traeger's band is performing Wild Blue Yonder, the Air Force's song.
Excellent. They're led by Karen Kriege, band director.
Next up is the Boy Scouts District Chair Paul Schmidt, District Director Kevin Corkin. Behind them are the Cub Scouts,
Yes.
all members who someday will be our leaders.
Scouting offers fun and challenging activities that promote character development and physical fitness.
And they're Pack 3682.
And then we've got the Merrill Middle School band coming up here, led by Kennison Thayer. Group is made up of the 7th and 8th grade band students, and they're playing The Caissons Go Rolling Along, which is the Army's theme. They are under new direction this year. Mr. Kennison is a first-year teacher who graduated from Lawrence University up in Appleton.
They are also a part of the local United Veterans Honor Guard for military honors for funerals of veterans.
Now we've got the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 437, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And they received their charter March 1989, and they started up the 4th of July parade in 1991 to welcome home the 1157th Transportation Company. All right, it looks like we've got the fire department coming up next.
Next up
George.
is the Oshkosh Fire Department.
Led by Chief Mike Stanley. Some big trucks coming through here.
This is called the Quantum, or Pierce Quantum, Quint 17. Protects the city's northeast side.
Yes. Always great to see the fire department involved in the Memorial Day procession, keeping us safe every day here in Oshkosh.
Next up we have the United Honor Guard with emblems of all branches displayed on a hearse. The hearse has a flag-covered casket, and it's being led by a Patriot Rider.
A good moment of silence as that hearse goes by, and that's going to mark the end of the procession. So before we close out, George, why don't you finish your background information that you were giving us on Memorial Day?
The 35th President of the United States, who was John F. Kennedy, charged us to take our appreciation a step further with action. There is no more relevant time to embrace this quote than on Memorial Day. I would ask that you leave here and go about the rest of your day to keep the fallen in your minds and their families and friends in your heart. For it is their immense collective sacrifices that have helped keep our country safe and free. As long as we continue to honor them with our actions and remember their sacrifices, they will never be forgotten.
Yes, could not be more well said. So thank you for sharing that with us, George. And really a great procession this year, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, and I thank you for the opportunity
Yes.
to work with you.
Yes, and we appreciate you standing in for Mike Hurt. And Mike is not with us today because he is the commander of the DAV.
And he's down in Milwaukee laying a wreath for Wood Cemetery for veterans.
Yes, and we're very thankful to Mike for all of the help that he gave us leading up to the procession today. And of course, obviously, very thankful to you, George, for stepping in. And we might even be seeing you with us next year. Is that right?
That's a possibility.
Definitely, yes. So
Good Lord willing.
definitely, yes. We look forward to that too. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close out the procession today. We'd like to thank our viewers today for joining us for the 2019 Memorial Day procession. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of this great Oshkosh event. I'd like to thank my co-host George Gillis once again for joining me today. And we'd also like to thank our Oshkosh media staff, Jake Tim and Scott Williams, along with our fabulous volunteers, Ian Bartlett, Gary Ross, and Daryl Dukacek, who are running camera, audio, and taking photos, and just doing everything they need to do to make this production possible. Last, and of course not least, the biggest thank you goes out to all those service members who gave their lives for our freedoms. And also thank you to all of our veterans and currently serving service members. Everything that our past and former current service members do does not go unappreciated. So once again, thanks for tuning in for the 2019 Oshkosh Memorial Day procession, and we'll see you next year.